Yeah, okay. Director Weatherhead, did you have a?
Good, thank
You're
you.
good, okay. Everybody's happy? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Last one.
Last one. I took a break before we discussed this one yesterday. So this is an all vote, item rising from item 9.1 on yesterday's agenda. Community Works Fund application, architectural assessment impacting all of our electoral areas except A. And this is the community, I move that the Community Works Fund application submitted by the RDCK for the architectural assessment in the amount of $652,400 be approved, and that the funds be dispersed from the Community Works Funds allocations from electoral areas A through J to the relevant RDCK fire service.
Director David Off, I just saw your hand. Is it to this motion or the previous one?
It's to this motion, Chair. After
Okay.
it's seconded, I have a question.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a second. Director David Off, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah, through the chair, I asked at the meeting yesterday if there were any grants that we could apply for to help offset the $652,000 cost. And there was a subsequent communication from the CAO saying that they're, you know, that the CAO had looked into this, and another director had mentioned, it had sent out a kind of a link to an infrastructure grant. So basically, I think through the chair to the CAO, has staff looked at this now, and we're kind of stuck with this $652,000 bill with no additional grants? Is that correct?
Sure, yeah. Through the chair, yeah, that's correct, but I will caveat that we still have to go to RFP on this. We received some specific direction around splitting the RFP yesterday in terms of the different quotes that we're going to get for different parts of this work, and that will come back to the board for consideration. So I wouldn't say that the board is committed to this dollar amount. I think that you'll have to see what comes back through the RFP process and determine how you want to proceed with the project. But in terms of other grants, yeah, with the grants that are available to our fire services at this time, we're taking advantage of everything we can, but building infrastructure is not part of any of those streams.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Stuart and Director Davidoff. Director Tierney.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yesterday, I expressed some concern at the size of the contingency fund for this project, and my question is one of just learning if the contingency fund amounts are not required, do those funds end up in the reserve funds for the fire services, or are they somehow returned to Community Works?
Through the chair, they'd be returned to Community Works. And that entire amount that Jimmy mentioned yesterday is not entirely contingency. It does include our project management fees as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, anything not spent would be returned to the Community Works funds. It can't just be absorbed into the fire service.
Thank you.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions? Comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Director Jackman. That concludes rural affairs. We will go on to director's motions. So Director Graham, you are up.
Thank you. So to the chair, I wanted to note that I'll be taking on resolution 36322, and I'll explain if I can do it that one.
We see a second. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So it's not that this work should not be done. The work should be done, but this made sense in 2018 when it was started, but the Area E OCP in it says that it would be reviewed every 5 to 10 years. I was at those meetings in 2013 when we had them. That's what the community agreed on, which means our OCP is up for review. So this, I would not want to see happen outside of that OCP review. And I'm remiss that I missed another one on the work plan that should be part of this also. So what I'm really asking for here, maybe I should have amended the motion to just say it should be part of the overall OCP review, but I think the staff is aware of that direction. I don't want Area E to lose its place in the OCP review process. It's important. And I think that's when we need to talk about the expansion and potential zoning, find out what people want, to do it at one time, not do it on individuals and open the OCP and close and open. So this is why this is and why I would ask the board to support that, just because I want it all as one OCP for vehicle.
Okay, thanks for that explanation, Director Grant. To staff, or do you,
Through the chair, that's very much noted. Yeah.
okay, yeah, great. Any discussion or questions? with Director Page?
Well, I don't wanna pressure, but there's the other one here, do we want to move, there's the other one.
Yeah.
Carol referencing, like, can we not package
Can
those?
I include that?
You certainly can,
Okay, then,
For clarity, do you wanna read it?
through the chair, of course.
do you have it?
I got it here.
I have it on paper, but.
In 2020 through resolution 375/20, the board directed planning staff to expand the electoral area official community plan to include the south border of the city of Nelson to Lima Roads, and then staff of this notice to the area director of the street roads. So that's the other one attached.
Thank you.
And should you capture all that? Okay. Stand by. Okay, can one of you two directors please send that to? And for the directors, room and online, we understand what we're deciding. That we're also including resolution 735/20,
375.
375, pardon me. Is there any confusion about that?
No further action.
Yes, but no further action as per the motion for the previous resolution. Director Neal.
Just to clarify, what we're intending to do with this motion is to roll everything into an official community plan process and not take little pieces here and there to do it comprehensively.
That's my
And this
understanding.
is the second piece, through the chair to just clarify. Good. All right, thank you.
Welcome. And she wants to wait. No. Any other discussions? And you, Director Grant, you sent it, or somebody sent it? Okay, thank you. Double barrel, all right.
Collaborating.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And Director Weatherhead, you have a couple motions.
Chair, all vote that the board directs staff to prepare a service case analysis to determine the options for establishing service in a defined portion of Area K to provide financial service contribution to the Edgewood Community Club Society for the purposes of management of community-owned lands, providing recreation, social, and community services to the Edgewood community.
Fine, okay, we have seconds. Would you like to speak to it?
I just would like to congratulate the Edgewood Community Club Society in the lovely donation of 3 acres of land by a resident. It's really something. Thank you.
That's excellent. Any other discussion or questions? Director Grant.
Thank you, so through the chair. So I'm just getting back to the work plan thing that we keep talking about. Like, when we add an item like this into the list, like, I'm just curious on how the priorities are ascertained. Like, does this item then go to the top, middle, bottom, like? I don't think.
Through the chair, it gets assigned to certain staff and it goes to the bottom of their list,
Thank you.
unless otherwise noted by the board.
For those of you who couldn't see it, Stuart was pointing down. All right, any other conversation, discussion, questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And your second motion, Director Weatherhead?
Thank you. All vote that the board directs staff to prepare a service case analysis to determine the options for establishing a service in a defined portion of Area K to provide a financial service contribution to the Burton Volunteer Fire Brigade Society for the purposes of providing fire suppression services to the Burton community.
I'll second that. Did you want to speak to it before the discussion?
Just to say that this volunteer fire brigade has actually been actioning fires since 2010 quite successfully, and it seems that the community is showing quite a lot of support. So this is a good token. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Director Cunningham.
Thank you, through the chair, to the director. Does this now mean that Area K will also have to pay the $35,000 to have their hull inspected? I'm gonna keep careful.
Please go ahead.
This is just simply a financial grant and aid service. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Online, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are now on to our consent agenda. It's all been received. Does anybody have anything that they would like to pull and discuss? Accounts payable?
I'll do that.
Okay.
Well, I will.
Go ahead, yeah, Director.
I should have, thank you, Chair. I should have done this in advance. This jumped out at me. Normally I try and do things like this in advance. There's a new name I didn't recognize and I didn't have a chance to ask CEO or our financial manager. At Source Recycling, $450,000. Normally we see GFL with those large bills. Is At Source a new entity or a new player in the recycling? I can't see how I would have missed a change like that. Or has there been a change or an acquisition of one company by another?
Through the chair, if we could look into that and maybe bring it back later in the meeting.
Yeah, sure, I should have given you advance warning because it seems you.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
Any other points of discussion on any of the consent items? Consent agenda? You're making this too easy on me, guys. Okay,
The best is
I'm touch for me.
Well, I could ask one more if you want.
Please go ahead.
Okay, if CEO is gonna talk to CFO on the pie charts, I think people like the pie charts. I know I like them. I like all kinds of pie. I like the charts because of their simplicity. One of the charts under grants shows 58% is RDCK grants and it's not actually defined. So we have ready grants. Somehow there's a little bit of money, which would be our administrative extraction of part of our administrative fee early on. Then there's community development discretionary. I can tell people exactly what all those are. But on that pie chart, 58%, more than half says RDCK grants. So that's internal transfers in departments, something from the province, the feds. It's not community works, it's not, community development. Just I thought, since we're getting so much more information, that would be a nice one to elaborate on, instead of us having to try and come up with the answer during a budget discussion in front of 175 to 300 people down the road. Again, I'm good offline. Follow.
Through the chair, I'll have to talk to you about how that's classified. What qualifies as an RDCK grant?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Director Jackman. I don't see any other hands, no more comments. Okay, so we will move past, well, I'd like to propose something because by some miracle, we are through most of our business and or in our open meeting, and we're only at about 7 minutes past 11. We have a fair number of public in the room, and we have over, last time I checked, close to 200 people online. 206. Okay, over 200 people online. So my proposal is, our procedure bylaw allows us to start at 11:30 to do public time, and we can go for half an hour, so from 11:30 to noon. I don't want to go into to close the meeting and then come back into an open meeting. So what I would propose, and we'll just do a straw poll here, is we have directors' reports on the agenda, which we have skipped since I don't remember when. I probably had a beard when we had our last report. So I would propose that we do at least a few directors' reports between now and 11:30. For any of you who would like to be the sacrificial lamb and talk about your communities for a couple minutes. And then at 11:30, we go to public time. I can, go ahead.
Chair, I was wondering if I could just answer Director Jackman's account.
Yes.
Question, we're still open. At Source, through the chair, is the compactor bins for the transfer station work in the Slocan Valley.
Perfect, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for that. Is that fair to everyone? Do you have any comments?
Would that require us to reorder to pass a motion to reorder the agenda?
No, because it's in the consent agenda.
Okay.
10.4 is information for reports.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got 22 minutes, so we can fit 11 reports in. Or like
I have
10.
1 minute, less than 1 minute.
Okay.
Or-
Well, let's just do it. Whoever wants to go. So Director, you can start.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Director Graham for coordinating and allowing, or not, whatever the right word is, Area F now is a part of the Area E newsletter, and it's now the Area E and F newsletter. And I'm getting help with that, and it's a very interesting and lovely way to finally find a way to communicate with people, which I was finding difficult because I don't have an email list of everyone or whatever. So thank you to Director Graham for her assistance in that matter. And if you want to read our thing, we've got ways. So thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Director
Yeah.
Newell. David, off we see, we've got you on the list. And Director Jackman, go ahead.
Sure, see if I can do 1 minute also. Really good conversations with two of Area A's largest accommodation providers. One of them is about 100 rooms between their larger sort of hotel structures, condos, cabins, whatever. Plus they have camping RV. And the other one's probably 30 odd rooms plus, much more than that in terms of RV capacity. Both are ahead now with their bookings at this point in time. One of them by almost 1,000 rental days as to where they were last year this time. So say across 100 units, they have 10 more bookings already, you know, under the wing now than they had this time last year per room. This will be a banner year for them. And the other one, similar. This has been the highest activity spring the other one has seen for a number of years. Coming from Alberta and coming from Washington, Idaho, and Montana. And they all have very good tourism and marketing connections with Northwest, US Northwest. A drop in traffic or business from the Okanagan, one indicated to me. I have to be concerned that may be related to uncertainty of the ferry and being able to access amenities on both sides, which Director Graham and I know people love to crisscross back and forth all the way up to Castle, Airbnb, and of course into Nelson. So the news story that some of this local push marketing is helping, and we need it. So I'm very pleased to hear that from our larger tourism economies.
Okay, thank you, Director Jackman. That was 2 minutes. No, not one. We're,
Leave it on.
Director Davidoff, you'd like to go ahead,
Yeah,
please?
thank you. 1 minute. First of all,
You can take two.
really happy that we have a name now with our area IOCP completed after 9 years, and we're Sentinel Mountain, so that's good news. Ready grants, as we've done in each year, we've managed to allocate some funding to every applicant, so we're very proud of that. I attended the Glade Ferry Society fundraiser to basically make inland ferries, to help advocate for inland ferries to be recognized similar to coastal ferries in terms of being part of the highway network here. And we, after 10 years, we have our Cascarn District Physician Recruitment Committee. We've been meeting for 10 years, the first Thursday of every month at 7:30. We now have a new recruiter. And so that's good news for us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Davidoff. Next, we have Director New.
Thank you, through the chair. I didn't do a whole lot of regional district work over the last 6 weeks because I was off doing something else, i.e. campaigning to hopefully become the next MP in the, get a load of this, the Vernon Lake Country Monashee riding, which I amended every time I mentioned it to be Vernon Lake Country Monashee, Arrow, and Slocan Lake Valleys. As we all know, I was not successful in that endeavor, but I sure learned a lot about how policies get stacked as we start from our own community and then come together in regional district, and then we have the province, and then we have the country. And the same issues keep arising in slightly different forms. And I had an opportunity to speak to some of those issues that we see as completely local and personal, and speak to them from a higher vision, like up at a 30,000 foot vision. It was a very interesting experience. I would just have to say, what was I thinking? It was a tough go. And I offer thanks to my mayor, Tanya Gordon, who attended many meetings in my absence. And I think it was a really good opportunity for her to learn, that next altitude layer up and go, oh, so this is where Syllogen fits in to a slightly bigger picture. So I think it was a learning curve for her as well. I'm back now. I'm really, really happy to be back with local government. My next report will include much more local endeavors than this one did.
Thank you, Director May, and congratulations on the effort.
Thank you.
And so, Director Papa, we see you. Director Hewitt, we see your hand. Is that? Oh yeah. Okay. Perfect. Director Hanegraaff.
Yeah, so we did the READY grants too, which is one of my favorite things, just because I'm always so impressed by these nonprofit community groups and how much they do for our communities. And one of those was Robson Rec, which is very much a grassroots group who have developed or are in the process of developing a multi-use court in Robson. All of them by volunteers, funded by the community, and then they ran into the brick wall when it came time to get insurance. And so we were able, with the help of Joe and Tricia, Joe Chirico and Trish Davison in REC, facilitate a way for the RDCK and Robson REC to work together so that they can get the insurance they need, because they couldn't afford to do it on their own. So I really like the grassroots aspect of the project itself and the collaboration that happened between Robson REC and the RDCK. So that's a good news story.
That's great. We love those. Thank you, Director Hanegraaff. Director Lund.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to highlight a few capital projects that are happening in Spokane, our initiatives. One is our soccer field that's being implemented. It's in process. Second is our affordable housing project. Building permit has been submitted, I believe. So that project is on its way and moving along. I've reported out before. And third, the Village of Spokane purchased our waterfront a few years ago. And so we are gearing up for a 2-day community symposium to begin the visioning process for that site. It's close to 20 acres. It's right in the heart of the community. But I wanted to share with directors that the symposium is happening. We're also collecting and collating information online. We have a dedicated site, waterfrontcommons.ca. It's a splash page right now, but the full site should be coming online. We're collecting information on place-based economic development, information on case studies of other communities who have done similar projects, and so we're hoping it will be a resource for our community as we move along this process. And yeah, so we're sharing it out. If folks are able to come, please join us. Otherwise, check out the site, because we are collecting and documenting our process to share out. And last, I just wanted to acknowledge that today, May 15th, is Moose Hide Campaign Day. So the Moose Hide Campaign began as a BC-born Indigenous-led grassroots movement to engage men and boys in ending violence towards women and children. It's grown into a nationwide movement. And so just acknowledging today as the Moose Hide Campaign Day.
Thank you for that, Director Lund. Director Popoff, online, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In REH, we're still recovering from the wildfires that we had. And we're looking at the economic recovery of the businesses. And we're in the process of establishing sort of a plan. If something like that does happen in the future, what do we do? Where do we go? Where's our food security, etc.? then also we're looking at the residents that suffered losses and were displaced because of the fires. And so we had a society formed, the Slocan Valley Watershed and Forest Protection Society, and they're looking at getting certified to basically work with BC Wildfire Service to attack a fire that's outside our regional district fire service area. And in the northern portion of the valley, there is some movement in the Red Mountain area. They're looking at something similar to that. So we're still in the process of recovering, and a lot of my time is spent attending meetings and supporting the residents in their recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Papa. We have Director Vandenberg.
Thank you, Chair. So finally we get an opportunity to talk about our backyards. It's awesome. One of the things I'd like to do is put out there an invitation to our sub-region is Crescent areas A, B, and C. And we have a group, Crescent Valley Services Committee, that meets first Thursday of every month. It's online. But we really get that chance to talk about what's relevant in our backyard, those initiatives, working through what's important to local community, that sort of thing. So always want to offer that up for people who are interested in that area to attend our meetings first Thursday of every month online. Secondly, we've kind of on the tail end of our Crescent Valley or our Crescent Airport master plan. And so that was a plan that the last time that we did it, I looked at the mayor, it's about 15 years ago.
1979.
1979, thank you. And it's refreshing to know that the little gem that we have in the valley, what can we do with it? What is the direction that we can go with it? What are the barriers around developing that airport for our local communities? So that master plan will now allow us to do further steps, further work, worth noting for sure. I sit as a participant with the Central Kootenai Invasive Species Group, CKIS. And one of the initiatives that we're excited about is developing of a white paper for consideration with Federal Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM. And invasive species and that sort of thing is because we have a huge agricultural valley and participation. Invasive species are a rural problem. We want to be able to take something that is noteworthy to our BC caucus of FCM with the hope that the Canadian, it's a Canadian problem, and that they'll look at it and look at funding opportunities for those issues around invasive species, both rural and urban. So I think that that's a really interesting and exciting step forward. And Mr. Chair, if I can have one more. The International Selkirk Loop is a 280-mile long scenic highway that encompasses all of RDCK and two of our American states to the south of us. There's a huge opportunity there. I am starting to lead an initiative to revitalize our partnership with our American friends, because if you've driven the key highways, you've seen the Selkirk Loop. We do take advantage of our American friends and international friends from coming in. Agriculture and tourism are the biggest industries that affect our GDP in the Crescent sub-region, and certainly through the RDCK. So my step forward would be to ensure that we are maximizing that economic opportunity with the Selkirk Loop. And that's it for now.
Thank you very much, Director Vandenberg. Director Keyes.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm going to start with something that's sort of Castle, sort of Area D. So about me. I've had the honor for the last 2 years to serve as a jury member for the BC Achievement Awards. And the award ceremony was last Wednesday in Victoria. And the Area D part comes in because Rick Valentine from Argenta received an award. So I was able to be there in person and offer congratulations on behalf of Dr. Watson. Next thing is thank you for Director Vandenberg for mentioning the invasive species issue. And where many of us are gonna be going to the FCM, and I am running for a board position, and I thank the board for their support on that. And quickly, it's May Day's weekend this weekend, so there's gonna be lots of festivities in Castle, softball tournament all weekend, water sports Saturday, Sunday, car show Sunday. Chainsaw Carver will be there all weekend, and he's donating his carving to the new library building committee. And so very happy to hear about that. And then the parade on Monday. Lots of other stuff happening, vendors and whatnot, but welcome you all to come to Castle. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Dewitt. Director DeBoon.
We're in competition, aren't we? We have our Blossom Festival in Preston, same weekend, and so how people will travel to Lakeville and do both, really. So parade on Saturday, parade on Monday. A couple of other things, through our town council, we have now, our housing corporation is in place. We have our directors in place. We will be shortly talking to a construction manager. And I'm not sure how long it will take to put shovels to the ground, but we will be starting with about 110 space daycare, 42 units of achievable housing. So that's moving forward. And the other thing that some of us are involved in too is the Border Mayors Alliance, where we are talking about the impact of tariffs to the border towns and cities across Canada. And we had a meeting yesterday. We are now bringing in speakers, and we see the impact across the country. In Ontario, they estimate they'll be losing about 60,000 jobs because of manufacturing. But we also talked about the impact in the United States, and the thing that we don't think about, cities in the United States, San Antonio, number one, Detroit, number two, depend very heavily on their export business to Canada. San Antonio, the leading city for that, 41% of what they produce goes to Canada. So there is a huge impact to cities in the United States with tariffs. And so far, they haven't put the pressure on that they will be, because when tariffs came, people stocked up. They bought a lot of things and stocked up, anticipating they were going to cost money. When these things sort of run low, that's when the business really starts to get in trouble. So a lot of U.S. cities, the whole Rust Belt, are very reliant on exports to Canada. And I think that was underestimated by the U.S. government. As that really starts to kick in, I think there will be a lot more pressure on the American government because of the impact to their own people, not only the impact of producing it, but the raised costs through tariffs. It's going to be interesting as this unfolds, and I really do appreciate the information and updates we get through the Border Mayors Alliance. We meet every 2 weeks online, and it does give us a great deal of information to be able to just understand what's going on.
Thank you, Director DeBoon. And Director Lockwood.
Thank you. Very, very quickly. It's in all of our backyards is nonprofits and how much they benefit our communities. And I would challenge any one of you to think of losing a nonprofit in your community and how much it will affect your community and what happens in your community and stuff like that. I know that there's a lot of conversation there right in Salmo right now of some nonprofits because they're not feeling supported. And it, as much as we just went through volunteer week, I think it was May 4th to the 10th or something like that. I just want to bring that forefront into all of our minds, how important are nonprofits as we talk about the Ready grants, that it was probably close to 95% was going to nonprofits, to our communities. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Director Lockwood. And for the close, Director Page.
Yeah, go fast. So I hear from the public. So in Nelson, it's been a while since we had a bit of an update. Nelson did approve a 5-story building up at Selkirk on Bell Street to proceed to a BC housing funding call that we're anticipating in the coming weeks and months. There will be further discussion around the land use redevelopment beside the rec center, and whether or not that goes ahead is still a discussion up for council in terms of adding affordable housing as a land use. We all went to the AKBLG, so I just want to put a little bit of a reminder, even though, I'm going out the door. is that the survey is up until the 27th. So it's really important. We stand out in the crowd in terms of the province and how we advocate, because we do that prioritization, because we tell as members what we think is most important. It's really good direction with the board to push that work. So please fill that out. The screenshots from and the presentations are all up on the website, and so it should be easy to find. Please do it. We have adopted an interim urban forestry plan. This has been a number of years in the works, and we used some student time with PBC to get the first version of it. Identifying things like significant trees, what qualifies, how big, where, and what we're going to be replacing, and how to achieve an overall increase in the same person over the long term. So taking care of that forest is a good thing. Sometimes it means we take down big trees, but the goal is to, of course, replace the overall look of the street and make sure we're phasing things in, so we're never playing catch up on something like that. We've adopted our OCP, another multi-year process. It's finally coming to an end and a conclusion. And lots of public feedback, lots of opportunities for people to adjust where we're going in. And now, of course, I don't need to make you all familiar what an OCP is. And then it's going to be a busy weekend. So we've got May Days on Saturday. We had our launch of our Mother's Day Farmers Market last week. And that starts the official season of farmers markets in Nelson. So the first one at Cottonwood is this Saturday. Then you can go up to Caslo. And then you can get over to the sculpture walk grand opening in Castlegar later that evening. And then you'll recover a little bit on Sunday and get over to Blossom Festival. And I don't know if that's really do. More like
Very clever.
That is a long and winding road, sir. That's just like the song.
Anyone who's had to take kids to any kind of sporting event has done that. Which
This is the new Denver side group as well.
yes.
That's, thank you, Director Page. That's economic development. Okay, thank you for that, directors. It was nice to hear from everybody. It's been quite some time since we've had time to do director's report, so thank you. And just thank you, Director Page, for that reminder. AKBLG, please get, as you don't know, I'm the resolutions chair and the advocacy chair for AKBLG, so if you can get your priorities in, then we can take those to the TBCM of the province. So, okay, we're almost exact time. Okay, we have, we're at public time, and we're going to extend it beyond what we normally do. We'll give half an hour. So it's 11:32, we'll go to 12:02. And just quickly, if you weren't here the first thing this morning, I just want to say democracy is a participation sport. And that's a cliche that I say all the time, but I'm really glad that people are engaged and are here participating in the process. Sorry, that echoes weird. So thank you for being here. Please there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people online. So let's quickly just get to our questions. We'll do our best to answer them. I can't guarantee that you will get the answer that we give, but we will do our best to answer. It's been a very professional morning. So I would implore everybody, both in the room and online, to just please be professional and respectful. And we'll go from there. So we have a few online. We'll do 2 in the room and we'll go online, and then we'll go from there. So
Strictly questions, or can statements be made, or just you guys, or
it's ideally for a question. Our procedure bylaws questions, you can preface it with a little bit, but again, there's a lot of people that want to speak. So just a quick preamble. We generally do 2 minutes or less. I don't want to start a timer, but I will if it gets really lengthy. So would you like to begin, sir?
Hi, my name is Brian McLaughlin. Good to see you all. And I really, really appreciate every one of you for participating in our community and the efforts and work you're doing. A lot of us are here, as you know, because the ostriches are 400 and are being threatened and to be culled. And I was there a few weeks ago. Amazing birds. None of them look sick. Amazing. And they're 20 million years or more, 70 million years old. We're only 500,000. A species we have a lot to learn. They are not food birds. They are research birds. And I just want to say, like I put this little poster together. If your child was sick, if your child was sick in your family, would you kill the whole family? And this is kind of what we're doing as a government. And it's a bit strange that the Food Inspection Agency, this is not food. So why are we doing this? And this was tested, as they said, in December. This has almost been 6 months now. And just getting into my questions, I really appreciate all this. And number one is long-term monitoring to address the carcasses. This is a 1,440 140,000 pounds of ostriches that's going to be buried. So there's a long-term monitoring. Bylaw section 2961 would address that issue, and it's important to understand that in your bylaw. The second question is bylaw 2961. It gives the RDCK power to refuse hazardous waste. You guys can do this, right? Is this reminiscent of the Hull mine situation? We don't want to go there again, right? We're spending a lot of money on that still. We don't want to do that. And this is the most important. This is the most important. And Stuart, thank you for facilitating this question. And this is a letter to the Food Inspection Agencies, very simple, saying retest the birds. It's been 6 months. Retest the birds. I've been around these birds. There's people. The owner is living in the ostrich farm in the middle of the patch right now, sleeping so they don't get cold. It's, as you know, it's a public outcry. And I think we could form a letter very simply. Can we retest the birds as a public outcry? As everyone will say here, this is a very, very dear concern why this is happening. And I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening to me today.
No, you have.
It's all PCR testing, sorry.
Just quickly answer the question. From a board perspective, I mean, we're all human beings here. We all live. I mean, Edgewood is just down the street from where I live. We all feel for the farmers and frankly for the animals that are involved here. I know personally that the newly elected MP, I believe, is doing some advocacy. I know some of our directors have been doing advocacy. So I'm going to turn it over to staff because they know better about the specifics about the hazardous waste management. Yeah, I'll just go in there. So Uli should speak to that. Or Uli, if you'd like to speak to that, Uli's our resource recovery manager.
Yeah, I can briefly speak to it. None of the decision-making around the call is up to the regional district. We have been contacted for if required, disposal of the carcasses at our landfill, but the decision-making and the evaluation of the risk level in regards to these animals is solely up to CFIA and their provincial support ministries, Ministry of Ag, and so on. But it is not our decision-making to determine the risk levels from these birds and a decision-making around the call itself.
Thank you. Yeah. Ellen?
My name is Ellen Chambers, and I am really delighted that all of you have been given this problem. Because in the end, I really believe something amazing is going to happen for the people of the Kootenays and for Canada. Because there is a real jurisprudence issue here. I am a stakeholder in the Uthashina, I use it. I'm a stakeholder. I'm one of the people that pay your taxes and everything. So the question becomes, do the stakeholders have any rights compared to an unelected federal agency, a bureaucracy? That is a big question that has to be answered in this country. We have to know, do the people have any rights? Because I don't want you to bury these animals I own that landfill. I want to know, do I have any rights? And there is some precedent now, maybe not in Canada, but in the United States, there's something called the Chevron deference, where now the judges have the right in that country to use common sense, to listen to more than just whatever these artificial rigid rules are. on how law has to be held. We need that in Canada. And so that's why whatever your decision is, I really believe is going to have a huge impact on the province, on the people, especially the people that live in this province. So my question is, who does the RDCK work for? Do you work for higher agencies that tell you what to do, or do you work for me, the stakeholders, in making decisions? And so when you hire a lawyer, this is important for this lawyer. The Chevron decision is really important. It's spelled CHEVRON, deference. So when your lawyer starts looking at this situation, the whole world needs to know what's going on in the Kootenays right now. Do the people that you represent, are we the ones that are in charge? Or is it some unelected bunch of people that get to make decisions? So that's my question.
Very good. So philosophically, I'll just answer that we are elected. I mean, the people in this room are elected by the people in the region. So we are responsible to our electors, to our residents. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't get into the Chevron deference in the United States. Clearly, it's a different country. Maybe there is a way for Canada to learn from that ruling. I don't know. I can't speak to that. And all I can say from the point of view of where I'm sitting is there are different orders of government. There's the federal, the provincial, regional, municipal. We can do advocacy work with our federal MP, our members of parliament, and other people. We can put pressure on provincial representatives who can then also put pressure on federal representatives, but we have zero control at this level on federal agency. So that may not be a satisfactory answer, but I know that, like I said earlier, people are trying to do the work and doing the advocacy work to trying to get things changed. But I've been in government 7 or 8 years now. Things don't move quickly, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I don't know, from a legal perspective, do you have anything to add? Or?
No, through the chair, nothing different than what I said during the issue earlier.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks for the question, Alan. Okay,
This
we're going to do a couple online, then we'll come back into the room.
This is the order I saw them appear.
Okay. So we have Nicole Corrado. Would you like to unmute and ask a question, please?
Yes, thank you. I am speaking on behalf of the ostriches. I'm actually talking from Montreal, and it's 2:42 p.m. here, but yeah, I do not think that the dump should at all take the ostriches. For one thing, it would be completely disrespectful to those birds because they're not garbage, they're living birds. Also, the ostriches have immunity to avian flu, therefore they don't have avian flu, because if they had avian flu, they would not be sent to a dump because they would be cremated if they were actually sick. So the CFIA knows they're not sick. The other thing is, though, however, if they were sent to the dump, it would create pollution because it would produce a lot of methane. It would also attract a lot of animals like bears and other animals to the area. Plus, it would grow a lot of bacteria and create a lot of problems and produce a lot of gases. So it would be a major pollution problem. It would be hazardous waste, even though they're not sick. They're not going to make anyone sick now. But if the birds are killed and sent to a dump, that will make everybody sick. And so, but I think even for the sake of the birds, I think as an ethical standpoint, the landfill needs to say, no, we're not going to take 400 bird carcasses and put them in the dump. They're not garbage, they're living beings, and even when they're dead, their remains should be treated with more respect. I think that you can just say, from an ethical standpoint, even, you're not going to take them. And I fully support that ostrich farm. They're not meat birds, but the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, unfortunately, they handle everything, despite their name. if you are transporting your pet, your cat, your dog, whoever, from Canada into the US or into any other country or vice versa, it goes through the community, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency oversees.
Nicole, do you have a question? We just have a lot of people.
My question is, can the landfill say no, and can you use provincial legislation to refuse to take 400 carcasses to the dump? And is there a way that if you do refuse to take the carcasses, could this delay or even hold off the cull?
My understanding is that and I think our CAO spoke to this earlier from a legal opinion he received yesterday, that we could indeed say no, but that the province could immediately turn around and order us to take them. We would likely have little legal standing to maintain that no, because we are mandated to take. That's part of our job is waste management. Did I get that? Yeah.
Community states by saying no. So whether it does.
So we have a list of people here. So okay, thank you for the question, Nicole. We have a Kevin Shaw online. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hello, my name is Kevin Shaw. I live out in Winlaw and have been following this issue with the ostriches somewhat. And I realize you guys don't have a say in whether they get culled or not. And I think it's obvious to anyone with common sense that these birds are not sick. But the CFIA is saying that they have bird flu. They tested positive, or 2 dead birds tested positive 5 or 6 months ago. Therefore, they have a policy that says the whole herd has to be wiped out. And they're maintaining by that policy. The federal judge just the other day, I think, basically maintained that, saying, oh, they followed all their procedures or whatever. As you can see, there is a large public interest in this issue. This is getting international attention. I think if you are serving your communities, I think it behooves you to do whatever is in your power to oppose this. If we're playing the game as per CFIA's, what they are saying, that these birds are a biological hazard, that people or other birds cannot come in contact with this flock, that they must be culled and disposed of. And if we're going to play that game, then this is a hazardous biological material. And I think that you can oppose the burying of these birds in the Udashenia landfill on these grounds, that there must be, this is a unique situation. I believe it's like over.
Kevin, do you have a question to ask? We're getting close to 2 minutes here.
So I believe that you can oppose this on those grounds. Has there been because this is a unique situation, has there been a full environmental assessment of the potential hazards of burying this specific type of biological material in a RDCK landfill? Has there been a full environmental assessment of this particular type of biological hazard? Has an environmental assessment of this type been performed before in a RDCK landfill?
Okay, thank you for the question, Kevin. Uli, can I ask you to answer that? I mean, I could try, but he's the expert.
Absolutely. Through the chair. So this is not the first time we have to dispose animals that had to be culled in regards to avian flu. We had about, I want to say maybe 8 months ago or so, we had a similar situation, not ostriches, of course, but I believe it was turkeys at the time, where we had to be part of the disposal and management on the infectious disease chain as we were asked by CFIA at the time. We are playing a role in managing these outbreaks, and like I said, have at the time accepted materials. We do not require an environmental assessment. That is no requirement for landfills. We are accepting ongoingly organic material in a landfill, so it poses no additional threat from the perspective of accepting additional organic materials. The infectious piece is handled through a rigorous requirement for the transport and acceptance of these materials, and at disposal an immediate covering of the materials so that the risk of any other birds or vectors accessing that material is eliminated. So that's the perspective from a landfill technical aspect. We do not require an environmental assessment. The risks from accepting organics known and is there all the time. We are accepting much larger volumes of organic materials ongoingly in that landfill, and so there's no added risk from that perspective.
Thank you for that, Owen.
Do you want to speak up for the kind of thing out because you have enough work to but for more.
Okay, we have a lot of people on the speakers list here, so we're going to get to as many people as we can, so please keep your comments. Sorry, I'll speak louder. Please try to keep your comments brief because we have a lot of people online that want to speak as well. If we get to a certain point, we'll just ask you to put your comments in writing and send them to the chair and to the CAO, and we can deal with them. Please go ahead.
Okay, my name's Shirley and I live in the Kootenays. Chair, you said to Brian as an answer that we all feel about this. Yes, but you guys are the ones with the power to do something about it. And we're counting on you. We elected you, we pay your salaries, we count on you to stand up for this. As a point of interest, last time I looked, there was 230 people on the Zoom watching. This is from across Canada and international. I recognize some international names on there. And we've only known about this for less than 48 hours. So there is a worldwide attention on the RDCK right now. As a taxpayer, I fear the Ushania landfill's disposal of 140,000 pounds of ostrich carcasses, which is a much higher number of carcasses than Louis Wolf just quoted, will repeat HB Mine's financial disaster. The operational certificate does not address long-term monitoring costs for contamination. Bylaw number 2961 lets RDCK say no. So my question, what is the board's plan to cover ongoing monitoring costs if disposal causes contamination? And will you refuse this disposal to protect, in order to protect taxpayers from another multi-million-dollar burden? And can you just make a motion to retest those birds?
Okay, so there's a few questions there. I'll work backwards. I mean, we could make any motion that we want within the law, but we don't have, like I said earlier, we don't have power over the CFIA. Well, not legally. We can say whatever we want. They don't have to listen to us. And in terms of the other questions, like a mitigation plan.
Plan to cover the list of one.
Willie, can you answer the question about the cost of potential costs of ongoing contamination?
As I have said before, and I'm not sure where the resident feels I quoted the wrong number. The number that we were informed about is between 50 and 75 tons, which is the number we received, and I believe that was as well from many people opposed to the disposal quoted in a similar way. 64 tons, I believe, is the number that I received from people that are familiar with the farm. So that's the amount we received. if we accept these materials at the landfill. The landfill receives every day, on average, about 70 tons of material, of which between 20 and 65% is organic material. So the 64 tons that we receive is roughly the equivalent of 2 days worth of organics that are being received at the landfill. This is not a significant addition to the organic loading of that landfill, and therefore no added risk from that perspective.
Thank you for that, Louis. We're still on. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Michel Saint-Germain. I live on Crescent Road, and I have a question about the motion that was adopted today. And it is the motion that changes the bylaw 3002. I'd like you to confirm the proper interpretation of the wording used in the motion, and I'll quote the wording. The wording is consideration for adoption to be withheld until certain conditions are met. But to me, that wording suggests that the adoption will come later on. Otherwise, the motion would have said the bylaw changes are adopted. So I'd like you to confirm this interpretation. And really the sense of my question is whether or not the community will be consulted in connection with the adoption of the conditions stated in the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think you're correct that the adoption is those motions aren't passed until those conditions are met, but I'll ask staff about the
Through the chair, the Ministry of Transportation and Transit needs to sign off on the access requirements for the property, and then once that's signed off, and then once the covenant is put in place, the bylaw would come back for adoption. But the community input process with the close of the last public hearing is closed.
So just to be clear, there will be another motion coming up adopting the bylaw changes?
That's correct.
Thank you.
If I could, through the chair, at that point, the board is no longer discussing the matter. There's no discussion allowed on the adoption of bylaws. Discussion ends at third reading.
Right now, I don't understand. If there will be another motion adopting it, why isn't there another discussion that the board?
Through the chair, because the conditions that are within that motion are all that needs to be met. So essentially at this point, it is ticking boxes to make sure that that's done by the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. And then that will come back to the board, and it's essentially just confirming that that's done.
Okay. Now, people,
It's also on the same motion.
Okay, we're just going to go online. We're just going to go back and forth with two. So we'll quickly do two online. We'll come back to the room. Sarah Gal. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Sarah, would you like to unmute? Okay, we're gonna, just because we have a long list, I'm gonna move on to the next. We have Rose from Area D.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Sarah, yes, thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It has been disturbing to hear the concerns of physical health and environmental concerns have been dismissed by the committee, but I think no one in the room can deny the mental health damage and lack of trust that this has caused your constituents. Your residents are traumatized. The powerlessness and abuse of power of a corrupt federal government and judicial system, what they have done has shocked the community and the world, frankly. Sadly, children are going to be the biggest victims. Kids love animals, extremely vulnerable. They have suffered terribly over the last 5 years with fires, with the debacle of COVID. No one is mentioning the mental stress this is causing and how much a cynical public will not be an ally in public health or anything else going forward if this kind of behavior continues or is not seen as at least being addressed. So my question is, I wonder why you at least wouldn't attempt to obstruct CEFA. I may need this clarified, but under British Columbia's community charter, we know municipalities are empowered to regulate nuisances. Section 8.3 allows municipalities to regulate, prohibit, and impose requirements in relations to nuisances, disturbance, or objectionable situations. And if this isn't objectionable, I don't know what is. Section 64 provides authority to address specific nuisance-related matters like odors, environmental emissions, and unsightly, unsanitary conditions, which I think would certainly include 140,000 pounds of rotting flesh. So I know that you may, I know that you can't stop the cull. I understand you're absolutely not able to do anything with that, but at least you could obstruct them in some way in the context of framing a nuisance in terms of a massive cull. Like for instance, I'm sorry, the fellow, I don't know his name, but he claimed that pests would not be a problem. I don't agree there at all. I think blowflies and rodents certainly cannot be stopped, both of which are transmission vectors for avian. We know that these animals don't have avian, but we're going to pretend that they do, apparently. So no one, you could at least try to tell them, try to demand how they're going to control blowflies and rats and mice. And this can certainly not be controlled with massive aerosol and ground poisoning. That's not an alternative. You could also tell them to manage odor and control. Yeah.
Sarah, sorry to interrupt you. Can I ask you that, just because we're at 2 minutes, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Please.
So where do you stand with the charter?
Sorry, you broke up there. Where do we stand with the what?
Under the community charter. You could at least stand up and frame this in the context of a nuisance.
Okay, thanks for the question. Is that true?
Thank you.
Regarding our own land. Yeah, through the chair, I don't understand the question from the standpoint of a nuisance, because if it's a nuisance with respect to the operation of our own landfill, a nuisance, even if we had one in place, would not apply to that because of the operating certificate and the need to do certain things on that property. Okay.
I'm sorry, may I send you information I have on this?
Yeah, you're welcome to send us any information you have.
And okay, so I'll send it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And okay, Rose. We're gonna do a few more. Rose from Area D online, are you still with us? Okay, I'm gonna move on to, we have a Christine online with your hand up.
Hi, my name is Christine Massey. According to news reports, 8.7 million birds have already been culled in British Columbia since 2022 as a result of the avian influenza virus narrative. And yet nobody has a shred of scientific evidence showing that this alleged virus even exists, or contagion of any symptoms, or any validated tests. And of course, you have to show that a virus exists before you can have a validated test. During your break, I sent you my notarized affidavit regarding the fraud and delusion of virology and the hundreds of Freedom of Information responses that I have collected from 225 different institutions, 53 of them Canadian, from 40 different countries regarding the alleged COVID-19 virus, SARS-CoV-2. No one has a shred of evidence to show that it even exists, let alone does anything to anyone. No validated tests. And I also sent you Freedom of Information responses regarding the alleged avian influenza virus, and those are from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, Public Health Agency of Canada, who have admitted they have no scientific evidence of any alleged virus in people ever, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. These institutions have admitted they have no evidence, no scientific evidence of a virus, can't even find the alleged viral genome. Anybody in the world, they have no record of anyone in the world ever doing this. And they cannot show that there's a contagion again of any symptoms. I gave you responses from the CDC, the FDA, the US Department of Agriculture, the UK Animal Health and Plant and Health Agency, Japan's National Institute of Infectious Diseases, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, Scottish Government, Finland's National Institute of Health and Welfare, and many municipal institutions. So my questions are, do you have scientific evidence of the alleged virus, of contagion, and validated tests? And also, and if so, which studies are you relying on? And number two, if you have agreed to accept carcasses of animals culled under the premise that they're infected with a virus, have you considered whether that would make you a party to fraud, theft and destruction of private property, animal cruelty, and potentially lead to criminal charges and other serious and costly consequences? Thank you.
Okay, so there's a couple questions there. I think safely say that the regional district does not have tests for avian flu. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there. The other questions were, okay, I will speak very loudly.
Thank you.
So no, we do not have tests, as far as I understand, for avian flu. The other question, if I recall correctly, is, are we concerned about criminal charges? I don't believe that we are, but I don't want to speak. I'm just speaking for myself. I can't speak for everybody. And I'm sorry, you have one more question that I forget.
I was asking if there is no scientific evidence, or whether there is or isn't, would you be a party to fraud, theft and destruction of private property, and animal cruelty?
I am, that would probably have to be tested in court. I am not a lawyer, so I can't speak to that, and I don't think any of us are. So thank you for the questions. We're past time. I'm gonna do a couple more in the room. We'll do a couple more online, and then if you have more questions to ask, please put them in writing. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to return to the afternoon.
Afternoon, yes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to return our attention to the bylaw amendment 3003, which was approved earlier today.
May I just quickly ask your name?
Mariette Saint-Germain.
Thank you.
Thank you, sorry. In this report, there's a condition that there be an S219 covenant. I do not think the S219 covenant is going to address this concern, and I would like to ask the board to direct the RDCK to look into this concern. The engineer's report has stated there is a significant health risk to the residents who take their water from the highly vulnerable aquifer number 994. In order for us, if this project does get final approval, to have assurances that our drinking water is safe, we will have to do regular testing. There are 23 landowners down gradient. Each one of us will have to do the test baseline and then multiple times in future years at a cost of each test of over $1,000. Can the RDCK direct Spearhead to work with us and perhaps to fund the testing of our wells, since this risk has been recognized by a recognized hydrogeologist?
Thank you for the question. That's a technical one, so I'm going to lean on our staff for that.
Thank you. So I'm assuming you are a resident of the Otachinia area.
We're talking about the Spearhead.
Sorry?
The question was about Area F and Spearhead, the Spearhead development.
To be Sankita.
Do I need to repeat the question?
No. So through the chair, I think that the first thing to do, because the board has to make a decision on the matter, might be to try to contact Spearhead to see about getting some support in that matter if you're concerned about it. If you need your local elected officials' support on that, I'd reach out to him.
And if they're unwilling to help fund the significant burden on all the down gradient residents, can we return to the board and ask them to direct Spearhead to assist us? Because this is a very heavy burden on us.
Through the chair, you could go through your area director and ask that question for sure. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
This is the owner of the Officer Department 80. I'm Daniel Leo, local resident, 21 years. I just have some very direct questions. I'll get right to it. Sure. One, we did a kind of like all for all against thing. I'm just curious if we get a show of hands of who opposes the culling of the birds on the RDCK.
Well,
the members though that we've elected. We just as our elected members, I'm just curious if we get a show of hands of as far as who opposes the cull. For it.
I'd say that that's an inappropriate question only because we don't have this. I mean, we don't have the reports in front of us. Personally, none of us want to see this happen. I would say. I think it's safe to say that.
And I'll say I wasn't trying to call anyone out or anything like that. It's just to get an idea of where people are standing and what perceptions of this event. Most directly, I guess like what I'm asking point blank is there's kind of like, well, you know, you could say something. We could do this. Will you, as our elected representatives, do everything within your power to represent the community? Like there's been not just a local, but national and international outcry. I know there's a process that you guys need to follow. I respect that. I understand there's a political process, a bureaucratic process, all of that stuff, but just the blatant disregard for the sacred aspect of life at play here and the precedent that it sets. We're asking you with everything that we are, with everything that we have, will you use the power that you have, even if you thought that for sure the answer was no? Just do everything you can to represent our concern and to try to put an end to this, to do everything that you can, whether it's through the landfill, requesting another test, whatever you have within your means, will you represent us in that way?
Good question. And we kind of talked about this, or I said something to this earlier. As a person, nobody like it. This is horrifying. However, our role here is to do our business, and our business is waste management. That's what we're legislated to do by the province. If we don't want to do this job, then we should probably quit and become. If I may finish, please. Is to do our job. If we don't want to do that job, we should probably quit and do something else, maybe on the other side of the table. Our CAO reached out to our legal counsel and said that there's no point in saying no because we'll just say do it because we're creatures of the province. We're legislated by provincial legislation.
You say there was legal though. They say you might not win, but you could at least go to legal with the lawyer, but not said by the gentleman.
Unless I'm mistaken, legal counsel said we can make whatever motion we want. We can say no, but they can immediately turn around and say that we have to do it. And okay, thank you, if I may. But that may or may not stop the culling. Like to my mind, there's two separate issues here. There's a federal agency that's enacting something that is killing these animals for whatever reasons they have. That's not, and the reason I said it was inappropriate for us to put up our hands or not is because we haven't debated that here. We haven't seen the pros and cons of that. So it's not appropriate for us to make a determination on it. Plus, we're also not virologists. We're not veterinarians. We don't have that expertise. Nor is that on our staff. So to answer your question, there's nothing that we can do beyond advocacy because it's not. And I don't want to be that person to say it's not our problem, but it's outside of our power. And I know that might not be the answer you want to hear. I wish there was something I could do, but we're stuck with what we have. And we have to work within the bounds of this is we're a legislative body. So we have to respect the law. We're a country of laws. It went through all the courts.
I do have a question.
Okay, owner of the farm.
Just ridiculous. Since I woke up. But I had meetings all morning and we just said we're going because I knew I needed to stand here in front of all of you from our farm today. And I do have a question. Chair, will you publicly retract the false claim that UOF, Universal Ostrich Farms, lost 2 court cases and correct the record at this board? Because the record matters and moving forward with disposal based on misinformation without a legal mandate is not just reckless, it makes this board liable for voluntary participation. I urge you all to take a step back, verify the facts, and act in truth. Oh, sorry, it's been a journey. I'm here today to correct a serious falsehood that was entered into the public record of this board. It was stated that Universal Ostrich Farm has lost 2 court cases. That is not true. Let me absolutely be clear. Universal Ostrich Farm has not lost any legal case. What they did do, and what we did do, was file for and win a judicial review, granted by Justice Batista. That review was heard on April 15th and 16th in Vancouver, and the decision was released this week by federal court by Justice Zinn. But here's the part that matters to you. In paragraph 7 and 8 of that ruling, Justice Zinn states that the court can only rule on decisions made by the CFIA before January 10th, 2025. The court was legally barred from considering any evidence after that date. That means the current health of our animals, the current health of our 400 healthy animals. Any any new test results, any recovery or scientific data, none of it could be considered. This ruling does not validate CFIA's current actions, only that what they did at that time was, in the court's view, reasonable based on what they knew then. So with respect, I ask you to please consider the now, because we are in a fight for these animals that hold way more value alive than they do dead. By accepting their dead carcasses into this landfill, you can set a precedence. Because we have a recovered flock, we can set a precedence with all of your power and all of your seats and everything that we stand for here today, and all the voice from across our country and the global attention that this is going to set a precedence. Our animals are happy, they're healthy, they're laying eggs, they're beautiful, and we are being restricted the chance from retesting our animals to prove to you as the public that they are recovered. We are being threatened 6 months in jail and $250,000 fine to bring you that evidence. So where do we stop this? We stop it at Universal Ostrich Farms. Please say no.
Say no to dumping. Let the community, the residents, the taxpayers decide whether you guys are gonna be a liability and pay fines, because Mr. Papa was contacted a couple of days ago, and his concern was a legal liability to our residents and constituents in fighting and saying no. Now let's do a referendum vote with the community. And let's ask the people of this area, do we stand behind this family, this farm, and pay the legal fees if that's what is going to happen?
Okay,
We need to, as Canadians and Kootenai people, show the world that we are better than the rest.
Amen.
Stand full.
So,
Same.
okay, may I have your name, please?
My name is Kelly Malakov.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is an extraordinary day. That's obvious. I don't know, you made in the room earlier a few minutes ago. Sorry, my tie's too tight. I can't do that. Our empathy is with you. Trust me. We know. I live in the cusp. I'm just down the street from you. A lot of the people that are at your farm right now are people that I know. I think just to your. So I've got two things that I want to respond with. One is if there are things that we need to correct, can you just write that down for us so we can actually correct it? Because I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if if we were to make any decisions, it's not on, so we do have to follow process, as you said. If there were decisions that could be made, they have to be duly put on an agenda. They have to be we're not, like, and trust me, I get the emotionality of the situation for everybody. There's a comment online about mental health impacts of all this. Our role is to make calm, dispassionate decisions based on all the information that we have.
Sure.
So if anything were to happen, it wouldn't be happening right now. We would have to talk about it. We had a joint resource recovery committee yesterday, a West Resource Recovery, which is waste management, Monday and yesterday this week, where I believe I wasn't there, but I believe it was discussed. So anyway, I could go on, but let me just say that to answer your question, if there were a decision that would stop the material from going to the landfill, it wouldn't be right now. So yes. I'm sorry, that's the best I can give you for right now. And I can't speak for the board. I'm just the conduit through which.
And for you all to say, because these are healthy animals, we're being denied the right to retest. And we just, all of us are sitting here as human beings, as much as we all sit in these chairs here today. We have the powers that we do and the jobs that you say that you're trying to protect, but we all have a purpose in this world. And if we all stand together, we can create the most beautiful change. And this is the opportune time to say no. And it's just, and I know that you're saying, it's not as easy as that, but sometimes maybe we challenge that. Maybe if enough people just said, no, we're not, we set the precedence of this landfill, and you make Castlegar and Nelson proud, you make our Kootenai boundaries, and you make this whole area so proud. Maybe, all the other landfills would just say no too, and we would actually get the scientific data that is being restricted, and it's killing off our farmers. We're losing our farmers. We're getting pulled, and then repopulation was still migratory birds. We're not doing anything about that. Migratory, as long as there's migratory birds, we're going to have avian influenza. So what do? How many animals are you willing to accept in your landfill that are not needlessly being killed and unnecessarily need to be that pose more risk? There needs to be a restructure on so many levels, and that's what we were doing in legislature. We're just trying to make the voice heard and create the change that needs to happen so that you have food security, and your children's children will have food security, and our farmers, who are our heroes, they supply nutritional food on our plate every day, and the security of that for tomorrow. Let's not villainize them. Let's not make them. Let's keep them the heroes that they are. Let's give them the respect as the experts that we are in our industries. We're experts in ostrich. Let's just make some changes, but on every level. And it can start here, and it can start in legislature, it can start anywhere, but these discussions just have to keep going. And we need to create the change. Public opinion matters, and I think we just have the opportunity here, humans, to do the right thing.
Yeah. So I'll just say, we have heard you, trust me.
Thank you.
We have each received, 600 emails in the past, in the last day, even, let alone all the stuff before.
Yeah.
We have heard you, and we'll take that away.
I agree.
And our hearts, trust me, as people, like human beings, our hearts are with you. And we wish you the best. Well, regardless of what happens, we wish you the best of luck. So I'm gonna adjourn the meeting for lunch.
I just have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm muted right now, but.
Just two things real quick.
Sure.
One, because you guys are so much more aware of just the processes that need to be followed, as citizens, as the public, as the community, what is our most direct and impactful path to making change in a situation like this? That's question number one. And then question number two is, still didn't get a straight answer. Will you represent us in this matter? And I just want to say, I know it's like, it's for all, it's complicated as this. If you just take a look at what's actually happening, it's actually quite simple. You just see the lack of logic and process, lack of logic and empathy and process, and go, okay, this deserves actually more attention. So will you represent us?
Okay. Yeah. Two quick questions. The answer, and maybe, if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but your most direct thing to do your member of parliament, because this is federal. Get that person, get in front of that person. Who is it?
It's Scott Anderson. If I could speak for
Scott Anderson. And let me just, okay,
So Scott Anderson was at the farm yesterday and is fully representing us.
okay,
And
excellent.
he's supporting.
So, and then, so to just quickly to your second point, if we'll represent you, again, because of the body that we are, we can't just say yes, we have to make deliberate decisions. And it's not, I know that it seems like a simple, straightforward answer, but we have to look at all the sides and say, what do we actually want to do? So without a considered approach, and maybe we would all say yes, I don't know. But that's just not the way we function. Is we have to have a measured approach to what we're doing. So that's not the thing.
Tell them to go to hell too.
All right.
In all fairness, thank you, Chair, very much for hearing us. I just want to say, people to people, do not underestimate your power as a human being. I know that it's a tricky situation, keeping your job, you've got mouths to feed, all that kind of stuff. You want to stay in good standing. I get all of that. But just remember, you're representing us. You can pass the buck to us. We'll back you up. It doesn't need to be like, hey, you're just representing us, the entire community. So don't underestimate your power. And just as far as the record is concerned, your children, your grandchildren, just say, hey, I at least said my piece. I at the very least did what was within my power to take a stand against this.
Be the heroes.
And you at least today say no to the landfill.
At the very least.
Okay, so all right, we could go all day about this. I said we're gonna adjourn for now. If we are, I'm sorry, we've turned a lot of other people away, so we're just gonna call it. You're welcome to speak to us offline to send things in writing. Yes, I understand that.
This isn't just.
I understand that. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna adjourn.
This kills natural herd community for people and animals and everything. You have to know that.
Yeah. Okay, so we will be back at 1:30 for lunch. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.